In Navarre, there is a little teeny town called Tabanry. There were a bunch of heroes that try to make their way in life inside Tabanry, and we started following the adventures of 6 of them. They did their best, working for the town, working to rid the town of any sorts of evil or what were considered villains. We even tried helping the mayor for a while. And eventually, we became known as heroes, not just mercenaries, but people who were guardians of Tabanry. Our word got around of the help that we were trying to do, and the people who were a little bit more powerful than us, a little bit stronger than us, and felt us to be useful tools, started hiring us as well. We ended up being hired by Callian Verreau of Azamir, of Corindel, in order to stop a great destruction from happening in Navarre. There was a lot of things happening in Navarre as it was around us. There is a war that is starting in the northeast, up in Rescalon, of the undead starting to take over the lands. But we were sent down south to Thave, where this corruption was about to take over, and if no one did anything about it, would seriously impact and perhaps even destroy all of Navarre. So taking up the mantle, we decided to go. There were some face changes. The heroes that went included, well, what should have been Yannick, who was changed into Aeduin for some period of time, Galen, who was changed into Stog, Dash, who was changed into Zaldor, and Thon, who was transformed into Gegi. Both Jericho and Hemlock stayed the same, unchanged, at least in physical form. But they were emotionally wrecked at the fact that the parties and friends that they had been working with for so long weren't the same people. We found that there was a corruption that had been imported or fell out of the sky, or something was brought into Thave, though it wasn't in the place that originally landed. It was actually taken by the Ashen Queen herself, the ruler of Thave and of the Coven of Blood Witches, a very, very powerful witch, surrounded by very, very powerful witches with her own nefarious plans. We did what we could to follow her across Thave to find our way into the corruption. By the time we finally got and found out how dangerous it was in her capital city of Kassir, we realized that we didn't have the right strength. We didn't have enough power. And we certainly didn't have a way of getting in undetected and being destroyed right away. Luckily, we found another wizard there, Brilnane of the Fifth Tower of Selection, who, through his help, guided us towards the Jagged Mountains. The Jagged Mountains, which were the resting place of the original Blood Witch and Ashen Queen of all of Thave, the Jagged Witch herself, Alcanet. So we went through the Jagged Mountains to find Alcanet's tomb. We, again, encountered several different creatures and fights along the way, including a giant, which we easily dispatched by trying to befriend it and having it eaten by ravenous children. We found leftovers of the Legion's War from 5 years prior, where there were weird different technologies that were left behind that we were able to take a bit for ourselves. And we even encountered a whole new reality for a hot second, as our story was potentially rewritten until we came back and found ourselves finally in Alcanet's tomb. A dangerous and really difficult journey through the dungeon of the Tomb of Alcanet finally led us to her final resting place, surrounded by guardians and ghosts and all sorts of other creatures who were designed to keep her there and keep everyone else out. But we met her face to face, and we were getting ready to dispatch her so that we could take what our trophy would be, and she immediately killed Gegi right off the bat, just destroyed him. At least her spirit did. And in the ensuing battle, her body took over the body of Gegi, and she became Alcanet in physical form, now bound to these heroes, these guardians of Tabanry, to do our bidding. Ish. We didn't exactly complete a spell that we were aware of, but it was a mutual understanding at the time. With Alcanet's guidance and a lot of leash wrangling, we snuck our way into Kassir. Didn't work out as great for everybody, but we made it in. And throughout Kasir, we saw the Ashen Queen's princess daughter, who was also a spellcaster of herself, which we were able to avoid being detected by them, and found a secret entrance that was made less secret by the time we stormed into it from Alcanet to get into the Ashen Queen's temple down below. The goal that we had was twofold from Callie and Varro. One, to take this mysterious dagger and hide it in the princess's jewelry box inside of a chest in her room, and to, again, defeat that destruction and destroy it. Alcanet had one mission, which was to reclaim her throne and to end the Blood Witch's bloodline, or the Ashen Queen's bloodline, so that she could once again reclaim her covenant and take over. When those two goals aligned, everyone was a team. We worked out. Alcanet kept everyone healthy, despite the fact that Yannick especially, was just super begrudging on himself for the fact that we're still working with this clearly evil individual. But she did work with us, and we ended up getting to the princess's chambers, actually snuck in, dropped the dagger in. While she was in it, Hemlock did some amazing stealth work to make sure that that stayed hidden, and we got out in time. When Alcanet noticed her, though, immediately tried to attack her, and that, again, took a lot of wrangling. It could have been an incredibly difficult battle that we were able to avoid. Again, soothing her and calming her with the idea of murdering the Ashen Queen herself, Alcanet led the way down into the bowels of the temple. That was where we encountered not just the Ashen Queen, who was absolutely there, but also the Corruption Stone, the big one that we had been coming for, the big reason that we were sent into Thave. It was spreading corruption everywhere. It was creating monsters, it was creating ill effects, and it was making it very dangerous. So dangerous, in fact, that when the battle started, Alcanet was even taken over and dominated by the Ashen Queen, now doing her bidding against us, which is incredibly dangerous. In a heroic and possibly foolish move, Jericho managed to teleport himself on top of this vile corruption stone and destroyed it. Doing so, frankly, should have destroyed himself. It was such a massive explosion using his blasting horn that he should have been vaporized, and wasn't. Call it gnomish luck, call it amazing skill, he got through it and turned the tide of the battle. So we fought on, and we defeated the Ashen... Well, I was going to say we. Alcanet defeated the Ashen Queen. We survived during the process. And in so doing, she ended that bond that kept us alive, that kept us protected. And now we were subject to her will. And if she so wanted, we could have absolutely been destroyed, I think. We may have scratched her a bit, but I think it would have been our end. Instead, she made a deal with us. Leave Thave, leave it to her, and let her take back over again, never to return, and we can keep our lives. So begrudgingly, we put our tails between our legs and went home. It was such a big impact on the party that despite the fact we were successful, we were heroic, and we had done the job that we said we were going to do, no one felt like it was a win. Everyone felt like they had leftover business, with the exception of Jericho, who just doesn't know any better. Yannick quit. He went back to the Temple of Carahel, no longer to be a champion, but to be a priest, because he didn't feel like he could live up to the task. Hemlock left. He remembered that he had unfinished business from that time that he was shot at by the only other gunslinger that's out there, and wanted his revenge. Galen, aimless as he was, followed Hemlock into Mirskan with the intention of aiding him, despite the fact that Hemlock tried to shoo him away the entire process. Fortunately, though, Galen was able to find his wife and give her back her wedding ring, because he no longer wanted to follow through with that part of his life either. We had all changed. We'd all been exceptionally different. Even Jericho took Zaldor home to Edlinholm to see who he was and what his life was like, and recognized that it wasn't his life anymore. It was a smaller place. He was bigger for it. About a month later, we all met up back in Tabernae. As was agreed, with the exception of Yannick, who has already been doing his own thing, and we looked for what was next. Gegi was gone. Yannick retired. It's now just the remnants of what we used to be. We're on our way from being heroes to being mercenaries. When we received a mysterious letter that told us to come to the Iron Fort, the same place that the mayor lives and resides, and the first place that we ever met Callie and Varro. When we got there, when we showed up inside of this rather clandestine meeting, everyone was secreted in. No one knew each other at the time. We were a part of that. We were also invited, though unaware of what was happening, and recognized that it was an entire council that was brought together by Callie and Varro again. Turns out, while we had been in Thave and doing heroic actions the past month that we had been gone, it has been getting worse in all of Varen. The war that was starting up in Rescalon had been pouring itself into Calavier, the last bastion of real strong human kingdoms that was keeping everything at bay. And if Calavier fell, Callie and Varro was very clear that the rest of Varen wasn't far behind. So with the idea of making sure that we could maintain a stronghold there, there were two envoys that were visitors from Canabrin, and also from the Stormy Range and Shadow Hall. They were dwarves, Lord Enscar, the Icebeard, and Golly of the Stonefather, who let us know that the reason there was such a major threat in Calavier was because there was a dragon in charge of Canabrin. Not anyone in this party has seen dragons before, but Varen's certainly not new to them. They've been around. However, an underworld dragon has never been on the surface in previous history that we're aware of. This was a different type of dragon that people don't normally deal with, that has been taking over the minds of all of the citizens of Canabrin. And the request was that we take care of this dragon so that the war can go on in its fight. Anyone who was at the meeting that wasn't us couldn't help or wouldn't help her or felt unable to do so, so we decided to step up. Both of those dwarves, Lord Ansgar and Golly, said that they would join us if we would go into the fight. So now that we were a solid 6, this brand new set of heroes, on our way to Canabrin to fight the dragon. One attendee of that meeting, Lady Avenbrook, did provide us a really kind of cool teleportation key so that we wouldn't have to ride for several days to get there and be risked seeing by the dragon, but we could just instantly appear. We decided to take that key, go through the teleportation ring, and dive in right into the middle of Canabrin, and instead found ourselves thousands of feet in the air aboard an airship surrounded by undead. That was a harrowing battle and nothing anything was prepared for. We immediately jumped into a fight. Lord Ansgar Icebeard materialized an Eidolon that appeared like an ice dragon that was near him. Part of his fighting style. Golly, it turns out, was an amazing healer that kept everyone alive and made sure that we maintained ourselves, which was a feat because it was a very dangerous fight and Galen almost got killed again. He didn't, though. Everyone's still alive, even just barely. Poor Zaldor was certainly beat up quite a bit. And now we don't have any way to go anywhere else. We are on this ship in the sky. It is a different type of vessel than we've ever seen before. It had writing that only Zaldor, who could read Old Byzrin, understood. And if you understand Old Byzrin, that is from generations before our time. The fact that it's even maintained in the tact that it was impressive. As we consistently continue to explore, we learned things about it. The name of the ship was the Wake, and it had a crew that had at least 600 days inside their logbook before all of them had either gone mad or died. That, we believe, was the crew of the undead that we ended up fighting at the end. By the time we got through exploring the ship itself, the one thing that we were able to determine was that we could take this ship over. If we understood the proper text, the proper writings, and the proper ways of doing it, we could absolutely fly and or sail what the ship was. The crew, in their poor judgment, voted Saldor as the captain of this trip, mostly because he was the one that could read Old Byzrin, rather than making him the navigator to read everything else. They decided to put him in charge. So the Zaldor, Wizard of the Seventh Tower, Keeper of the Wind Spheres over the Thousand Isles, is also captain of the airship, the Wake. And that is where our adventure begins.